All right. So welcome everyone. This is our strength and balance class. I am Coach Jimenez, Instructor Julio, whatever you wish to call me. I'll be your instructor for the next 15 to 16 weeks. This is your strength and conditioning class. Strength and balance class. So as I was just mentioning to some of the students, this class we will be doing lifting exercises. So we could be doing exercises from like bicep curls to shoulder press, maybe some air squats, some lunges, maybe push-ups. So we're gonna be on the chair, standing up on the floor, but there's also a balance component. So not every lift that we do is gonna demand a lot of your balance, I guess, experience or our fitness with our balance, because balance we could improve, and if we get injured or if we just don't practice our balance, we could lose some of that. So there's going to be some movements that we do that kind of have both aspects, strength and balance. So for instance, we might do, I could demonstrate, we could get on one foot, hold the dumbbell, and then go down and then rise back up. So that would be a single leg Romanian deadlift. And that helps with working out that one specific leg that's keeping you upright. But because we are on one leg, it's also helping on your balance. Okay. So that's what I mean. There's going to be some movements that complement both aspects of the class. And then if you're on my Monday class, which is a stretching and balance class, on that class, we covered some balance movements. And those could just be standing on one foot as we close our eyes, or maybe standing on the opposite foot as we're turning our heads left to right. So there's going to be a variation of exercises and movements. But yeah, that's what this class is about. The main goal is to improve your strength and also to improve your balance. We don't want to walk away from this class feeling doubtful about our efforts with balance. We want to feel confident, get stronger. And hopefully, the goal is at the end of the semester, you have a little bit more trust in your own balance, on your own feet. I do recommend for this class, if you have a nice surface area where you can't slip, it's comfortable, you might want to try to do some of these movements barefoot. So, and I mean like completely barefoot. Right now, I have socks on just because right now I'm at a condo that this is not my home. Currently in Mammoth, California. I live back home in SoCal. And at the moment, I'm wearing socks just because just trying to be a little bit on the neater side. But sometimes when you wear socks on like hardwood floor, you could slip. So just be mindful of that. If you're barefoot on most surface, you might be okay unless you're near a pool. But and if you're wearing shoes, my only issue with shoes is sometimes folks don't replace their shoes as often as they should. So if your shoes are really worn out, and let's say your shoes are worn out on the inside, they're gonna rotate your ankles a little bit, and that could influence your balance too. So I don't want your shoes to influence your balance. So that's why I ask if you could do these barefoot in your own space. So things to consider, your area. So again, we're working with weights, we're working with balance. So if there's any obstructions around you, if there's items that you could slide and fall over and maybe even hit your head or your shoulder onto, we definitely don't want to have stuff like that laying around. So just be mindful of stuff like that. But it is a balance class. So what I do ask sometimes is if you have a lot of trouble getting yourself up or even just swaying back and forth, you could have a chair, maybe a stool, or a shelf that you could kind of hover your hand over. And as you're doing that, let's just say we're doing a stance where we are wobbling a lot and you're not sure if you're going to stay upright or not, then you just place your hand on the shelf or on the counter, and we eliminate that risk there. So just keep that in mind. But again, that kind of it's a little bit counterintuitive with like the whole safety thing, but it also going to keep you upright. So just be mindful of where your things are in your room. As far as equipment for this class, yoga mat. Well, this isn't a yoga mat. A chair. A yoga mat would be great if you have that as well. We could do some stuff on the floor. Not all balance has to be on your feet. There's some balance that we could do on the floor as well. So we have our chair. yoga mat. If you're in my class yesterday, you saw me bring out these dumbbells. I have a pair of dumbbells. Okay. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, our goal in this class is not to turn into bodybuilders. We're not trying to get into competition or on a stage. We're just trying to get stronger. So the way to do that is to have some resistance equipment. So if you could get some dumbbells, that would make this class, uh, let's just say with dumbbells, we have options to do maybe as twice as many exercises as if we don't. So if you could invest on some dumbbells, that'd be amazing. If that's an issue for the time being, I would even say, yesterday I gave the example of like a large bag of rice. I have a bag of rice here that's 20 pounds. You could use that. You could use a water gallon. I think water gallons are about 8 pounds, maybe 9 pounds. I could be wrong. It could be a little bit more. If you have, dumbbells are going to go on each hand. If obviously we can't grip a water gallon on each hand comfortably without being uneven. So if you want to even grab, a water bottle on one hand, another water bottle on the other, it might be closer to a pound. Might not be enough weight, but at least it's doing a little bit of resistance. But I would recommend definitely searching for some dumbbells. You could easily find those at a yard sale. I think someone yesterday mentioned Played Against Sports. Sometimes they don't have to be pristine, brand new stuff. I believe I got these when a building at a school that I used to work at or where I worked at got demolished. And these weights are from the 70s and the 80s, and they're just stored in the back collecting dust. And I just cleaned them up, and now I've been using them for the last 6 years. So it could just be whatever you have around that you could use safely. Other than that, regarding Canvas and attendance, I do, best case scenario is I see everyone here on every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. If you are not able to make it to the live session, like I mentioned, I always record these. These will go on the front page of the Canvas course shell. Now, the way I do that is I take my recording, I upload that video to my YouTube channel, and then from that YouTube channel, I transfer the video over to Canvas. So you don't have to worry about navigating YouTube or all of that. I make that easy for you and just put it on the front page. So again, that's an option for you if you happen to miss this class. Maybe you slept in or you have an appointment and you wish to do the workout. I'll post that recording. I'm usually within 24 hours, but I try my best to sometimes do it within 3 hours of the class. So sometimes it'll be ready by like noon of the same day if I have good internet connection. But yeah, other than that, there's really not much more to this class. I'll probably put a survey next week for you folks just to get a little bit more information on you. And other than that, I may just have like little assignments, and the assignments aren't going to be graded. They're just going to be more feedback for myself. As you notice, or if you have all the little tiles right now, sometimes folks wish to not turn their cameras on, or they do. But if your cameras are off, sometimes the mic stays off too, so there's not much communication. But I do appreciate folks that, if you turn your camera on, I'm able to see what you're doing. I'm able to see your form. I could correct that form. And yeah, I can make sure that you're in this healthy pattern. And here comes the camera. So usually when I make that comment, the cameras start turning on. So I appreciate that. Now, don't feel obligated if you're like, oh, well, if I have to turn the camera on, I'm going to cancel this class or drop it. Please don't stick around. The only thing is that I could correct your form. If you wish to remain on with your camera off, that's totally fine with me. But yeah, if you have any questions, unmute yourself, speak up. There's a chat. You could just ask a question on the chat. You could email me. I also provide, I don't have an issue. I know some instructors might, but you guys are my students, and you guys are also, I would say, a little bit more, I don't have to worry about you folks texting me or calling me late at night and giving me a prank, right? So maybe like the younger generation may do that. I don't think you folks may. So I do provide my cell phone number in case you want a more direct contact. I have that provided already too on the syllabus. But Other than that, I think I covered everything. As long as you're here, you're getting attendance. Attendance is being tracked when you go into Canvas. Okay, so if you don't go into Canvas and somehow you just save the Zoom link and go to it, you will not be getting credit. You folks that are here already, you will not be getting dropped. So just make sure that you just continue to show up. And if you have a vacation or sometime that we're going to be gone for a few weeks, I do ask if you could just let me know before, I just think the worst, or if I just think that you just want to be gone from the class. So just make sure there's that communication and we should be fine. I mentioned I teach 3 other classes. So if you have if you enjoy this class, you like the style of it, and you wish to be enrolled in my other classes, please let me know and I could provide those course numbers. So here at Irvine Valley, we're able to enroll, next week, next month, 2 months from now, you can enroll whenever and get into these classes. So any questions regarding this class before we get our session going? So I know I've had many of you already in the previous last classes, so I'm starting to recognize some names. I'll usually ask questions, and you don't have to unmute yourself, but I do ask if you could just use the emojis. Just visually, I could see these from where I am. They pop out on my screen. So if I ask a question, usually it's going to be a yes or no question. And if it's a yes, I ask for you to give a thumbs up emoji. So my first question is gonna be, who in here has seen me before today and has had other classes? So, or who's enrolled in multiple classes of mine? So give me a thumbs up. So go ahead and the emojis. It's awesome that I'm seeing this the screen starting to fill up. Okay, very good. And then yeah, sometimes
I
it just
have another class with you, but the video wasn't working for some reason. It's
oh
working now.
okay, yeah, there you go. Hi Angela.
Yeah.
How are you? You're in your car? You're driving somewhere?
Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment. I can't
Yeah,
stay
no.
for long.
Yeah, today it's just going to be mainly announcements and yeah, so you're in yeah, this would be a good place to be in a car for today. So, okay, and then my next question is if we could get rid of those emojis is I know some people miss, but who's the first time you've ever seen me and this is your first class with me? So, okay, Cindy, welcome Cindy. Appreciate you. All right. I think you might be the only one, Cindy, so welcome. Great. So yeah, again, I mentioned it many times. You probably heard me say this again, but this is my second term here. Super grateful for the opportunity, and then also extremely grateful for you to also, not just choose me, but also let me guide you through these exercises and these classes. So, all right. So, unfortunately, yesterday after our 2 o'clock class, I think I saw some of you. Yesterday morning, I ran 16 miles with my team. We were doing great. I did a poor job of nutrition, of consuming calories after my run. I think I just had a yogurt, strawberries, and maybe like an iced coffee. So, anyways, long story short, I did a poor job of recovering after my run in the morning. And then I had this class, or the 2 o'clock class, which we did a little workout. I wouldn't say anything excessive, but we did a little movement. And then from there, I went to go meet the rest of the team at the local park, and we were playing beach volleyball. And of course, I got a second-degree strain on my calf. So I'm wearing a sleeve and I'm getting around right now with crutches. So, so yeah, that happened. I know Rudy, you're like, I just saw you yesterday. You're fine. So that happened. I went to the hospital to go make sure that it wasn't a complete rupture, and luckily it wasn't. But I'm kind of just wobbling around today and probably for the next few days. So because of that reason, I'll probably be limited today with the movements, which it's okay for the first day because it's just an introduction day, really. But yeah, that happened to me. It's getting a little bit better, but yeah, I'm definitely not running the rest of our time here in Mammoth. So
I'm going to give you what the Clint Eastwood line,
yeah,
a man's got to know his limitations.
I I
I
got
tell
it.
that to my friends they're older and they get injured. And I
I
said, you got to know your limitations.
I shared a picture of me laying on the stretcher at the hospital, which is
Oh, God.
excessive to a couple of friends. One was like, "Dude, you are not 18 anymore. Don't."
Exactly.
Another one was like, "Don't you remember last time you ran 18 miles and then you played tennis for 2 hours and then you had to take 4 months off running?" So, and all these things, it was just, and I know better, and I preach it to my athletes to take care of your bodies, hydrate, nutrition, and yeah, and I mean, I could have just gone to the park and watched them play, but I got
Well, you think you're 18
exactly,
and
yeah,
you think you're 18, you could do it, but your
yeah.
body says
Yeah.
no way.
Oh yeah. So yeah, so that's what happened. And hopefully I'll be a little bit more able to move next week. But yeah, I know for sure if we're doing balance stuff, I couldn't stand on my right leg alone right now. So and again, lesson learned. Hopefully, fingers crossed I don't do this again. But yeah, so this is something that could happen to any of us. And I'm sharing that now. It could happen to anyone. But when stuff like this, if it hopefully it doesn't happen to you, but it probably will down the rest of our lives. We'll have incidents like this. Listen to your body, and if it's really excruciating, then you could skip the class or do something else. So just keep that in mind. So let this be a lesson, not just for me, but for everyone, or a reminder. Um, but the one fun fact that I did learn from Mammoth Hospital is I was asking the nurses. I was like, "Hey, what type of patients do you folks get here?" And she's like, "Well, I actually work here and I work at Bishop, which is about 40 miles south." She was in Bishop. I get my folks with high blood pressure, history with cardiac issues, diabetes, just everything that sounds normal back home or like in your general setting. And then here in Mammoth, I'm like, who are your typical patients? They're like, oh, they're crazy people that are riding mountain bikes down the mountain, or skiers or rock climbers. So it's just active people getting hurt over here. So they said that it's rare for them to have someone with high blood pressure go in there for like a regular. It's someone who went over a jump and they missed the ramp and then they hurt themselves, and that's who they have here. So I felt like I was in good hands. So great. Any other questions before we start? I know Rosemary, thank you for joining. We got Alex, Paige, welcome. Joan, Alice. Great. All right. So for my folks that just came in here, if you missed the first portion of this intro to this class, I'll post a recording later in the front page, so you could always review that. But other than that, like I said, I'm a bit limited today, so most of the stuff that at least I'm going to be doing is going to be from the chair at the moment. I think I could do some balance stuff as long as my left foot is supporting, but we'll be doing this from the chair. And then, yeah, Angela, hope everything goes well. But yeah, don't worry. If you're in the car, obviously, I don't think we could do some squats from there. So let's go ahead and get on the chair. We're gonna do a couple of
Thank
movements.
you.
Yep, take care.
See you
Couple
next
of
week.
movements. Yep, I'll see you next week. We'll do a couple of movements for our warm up. And we don't do these from the chair. They're usually standing up, but just special circumstances, we'll start here. Okay. So we're gonna do is we're gonna sit on our left hand. Right hand comes over, and then we're gonna tilt this way. Okay, so just allow your hand to come over your head and allow the weight of your arm to kind of pull on your head towards the right side. You should feel a stretch on your left side of your neck. Let's switch. All right, let's go this way. So again, if this is your first time with me, just a little bit about myself. I have been working at Irvine starting in the summer of 2026. I've been working at Santa Ana since spring or winter of 2020. And at Santa Ana, that's where, for the last 6 years, been doing the active adult classes. Let's go ahead and do both hands over our head and drop your elbows down, stretching the back side of your head, upper back. All right, very good. We're gonna do a trunk rotation. So with our left hand, I want you to grab the base of your chair, right hand, rotate. And just gently turn to your right. And then besides that, I also coach track and field and cross country, and hence that's why I'm here in Mammoth right now. We are at our annual altitude camp. So I've been doing that at Long Beach City College now for, I believe this is year 13 or 14. I forget. I stopped counting after like 6. Let's switch. So again, just a gentle rotation. All right, we're gonna go ahead and place our left ankle on the right leg. So left ankle on the right leg, performance stretch here. Ooh. Yeah, so later in the next hour or two, I'm taking the team to June Lake. So this is our last full day here at camp. So the last day is usually a little bit more relaxing and enjoyable. So let's push down. So I think I'm gonna try to find a tree to go sit under for a few hours while they're out in the lake, but should be fun for them. Let's bring that knee up. And again, I'll be posting a survey. So thank you for those in my other classes. If you completed those surveys, I appreciate it. I still need to go through the responses. Let's switch. But I saw that I had at least 8 folks fill out the survey yesterday. So I have a similar survey like that for this class. Okay, so might be similar questions for some of you that are in my other classes. But yeah, I don't think there might be any new questions. It's just a matter of me getting to know you folks and any limitations or concerns that I should be aware of. So slightly push down. And then regarding the exercises and lifts, sometimes there's just movements that our bodies don't like. Maybe you personally want to do it, but your body's just like, like I'm not doing that. That hurts. If for some reason we come across a movement, let's bring that leg up. We come across a movement that's something like that. You may want to let me know that it bothers you, or maybe after class, hey, coach, doing those lunges didn't feel great on my knee. What can I do instead for next time? So we could have those conversations. And then also keep in mind, I know there's also some folks that have a hard time getting down to the floor to do exercises. If that's the case, also make sure you share that with me so I could find alternate movements. But usually for the floor movements, I try to remember and try to do those towards the end of class in case we have some folks that don't like the floor too much, can just start cooling down as those movements are happening. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead. If you have your dumbbells or some weights, or even if you don't have dumbbells, if you have hopefully some 2 water bottles nearby, we could at least simulate the movements of these lifts. Okay. So if you could grab those items, so we could do a lot of this stuff is going to be upper body. I'll try to do some of the lower body balance stuff once we've gotten a little bit warmer. So good morning, Carmen. Welcome.
Good morning. For a few minutes because I had technical problems.
Oh, no worries. No worries. You're good. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
All right. So what we're going to do is going to be shoulder front and lateral raises. Okay. So for this one, because I have this deep chair, this chair does get in the way. So we're gonna sit towards the front so this chair doesn't become an obstruction. So what a shoulder and front raise look like, you're gonna have your dumbbells here at your hands. This would be a front raise, just shoulder height, then back here, then come off to the side, and then that's a lateral raise, okay? So we're gonna be doing from here to here, okay? Let's do 8 of each, okay? So grab your dumbbells. Hopefully this is a weight that you're comfortable lifting, and begin. So 1, 1, 2, 2. So exhale as you're going down, inhale, exhale. So as you're closing your body, that's usually when you want to inhale. And as you're separating your limbs from your core, that's when you want to exhale. So okay. As I mentioned yesterday, I don't count for you. Okay, so just follow along. Try to go around the same pace that I do. I'm terrible at counting. I could say, let's do 10, and I might do 8, or I might do 15. Okay, so just listen to your body, and then we take a little break. So that's the one thing. In between these lifts, we want to take a little bit of a break. We don't want to move on to the next movement right away. You could probably feel some tension. Let's try to relax those shoulders a little bit. So we usually take somewhere between 30 to 40 seconds before the next movement. Okay. All right. Whew. Very good. We're gonna miss this weather. I hear it's pretty warm down there at the moment. So we're gonna go ahead and do tricep extensions. Okay. So there's a variation of ways that we could do these tricep extensions, but right now we're gonna do our overhead tricep extensions. So you could do these with one dumbbell. If you choose to do one dumbbell, I just kind of wrap my pointer finger and my thumb around the handle, and I do the same with the other hand. So I just use one dumbbell. If that weight is not enough, then what I do is just grip both dumbbells here, similar grip, but I try to bring my elbows in. We don't want to do this too much. Elbows in, and then just extend up and down. Main thing here is to not drop that weight on the back of your neck. Okay, so just make sure that you have plenty of space and you have a nice grip on your dumbbell. So again, give me anywhere between 8 to 12. But these lifts, you're gonna get benefits by slower movements than rushing through them, okay? You have a higher chance of injury when you're doing things a little bit too quick. Unless you're training to be on the track team right now and you want to be an explosive sprinter, then there shouldn't be a priority on speed, okay? All right, so again, we take a breather, let's relax. So let's go ahead, change it up from the chair. I think I could get on my feet right now, but let's do a little bit of balance work, okay? So go ahead and move your chair or your space. Flip this part. Okay. Swoop here. All right. All right, so you could see how limited I am right now. So I'm actually gonna do this one just on my left foot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place my right foot in front of my left foot. Right here, so place your right foot in front of your left. And then we're just gonna stand here, no movement. But you might notice that your ankle is shaking. Maybe your arches are burning a little bit, or your toes are trying to grip the floor. I could tell you right now, usually for this one, when I'm staggered like this, it feels like I have like 40% of my weight on one foot and 60% of it on another. You might feel that sensation. Right now, absolutely, I'm like 5% on my on my injured leg and like 95% on my other one, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now we're gonna look left to right. Okay, so rotate your head looking left and then right. Left. If you don't feel safe, just separate your feet and catch yourself. And this also provides a light neck stretch. So left to right. Now up and down. Let's look up All right, this one could be a little intimidating. So I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes. Main thing on this one is if you feel like you may tip over a little bit, before you open your eyes or open your eyes suddenly, separate your feet and just kind of have a wide stance. Okay, so just do that. And again, if you're just not comfortable doing this one, then just keep your eyes open for this one for day one. All right, so let's close our eyes. And again, I definitely feel my back, ankle shaking left to right a little bit more. My toes are trying to grip the floor. Three, two, one, time. All right, very good. Okay, this next one, what we're gonna do, I don't think I could do this one right now. So you're gonna see me just do it on my right leg, but I want you to alternate. So this is gonna be a slow high knee march, okay? So essentially, I want you to drive your knee up as high as you can slowly, then back down, and then do that with your other leg as well. So I'm not gonna do it. I think I'm just fitting myself up for danger. So again, just alternate so slowly. So right leg goes up slowly, then go back down, and then do that on your left leg now. Up slowly, down, and right leg. As fast as you can. The slower you do it, the better. Okay, and then your left leg. Let's do one more on each leg. So again, right leg. Yeah, this is already an improvement from yesterday, so. And down. Okay, very good. All right, so let me go ahead and grab my dumbbell. All right, so we're gonna do one more of these standing movements, and then we'll go back to the chair, do a couple more things, and then we'll close out the class. So again, this is just introduction, and like I mentioned, actually, we'll do another one. I know I could do with this leg. So this is called a staggered Romanian deadlift. I demonstrated earlier, or single leg Romanian deadlift. Okay, so the staggered portion, you would just be from the standing position. You would bring your back leg here just for a tiny bit of support. This front leg, you have a slight bend. And all you want to do is hold your dumbbell with both hands. If you don't have a dumbbell, just you could mimic the movement. So dumbbell is right in front of you, and you just want to hinge at the hip. Your dumbbell comes directly down. So what I like doing is the handle of the dumbbell is always making contact with my lower leg. And then bring it back up slowly. And I repeat that.
What kind of teeth you got?
And I want to do maybe about 6 to 8 of these.
Going where regular brushes don't reach, so teeth get on percent better clean.
Carmen, your microphone.
I look. And here's how I perfectly clean every.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. I've been working with Carmen for what now, Carmen, like 3 or 4 years? I'll have her do burpees next time we meet. So, all right, and back up. So again, this foot got really tender. My arches are on fire right now, but that's going to be one of those movements. So, all right, I think our last movement that we'll do from a standing position is going to be the round the clock single leg squats. So very long name, but you'll understand once I do it. So imagine you're in the center of a clock. So you got 12 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 12. So what we're gonna do is work out. You could pick either leg, but let's actually go with the left leg is static, right leg is elevated. So we start, you see my foot's at 12 o'clock. So I'm gonna do a little squat there, then another squat at 1 o'clock. Single leg squat to the 2 o'clock. So I'm going around, okay? Then 3, 4, there you go, Rudy. Rudy's already right here. And then 6. So from 6 to 8 or 9 gets really tricky. So now we're straight back. Now 7, this is where you start testing yourself. Eight is like the most challenging one. So you're over there. And then nine's a little bit easier. 10, you come over. 11 and 12. All right. I'm gonna sit down, but now you folks are gonna do the other leg. Okay, so catch your breath. And now you're gonna go counterclockwise. So now your right leg is supporting you, and your left leg go 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then in reverse. So that 5 and 4 o'clock will be a little tricky. So I'm gonna have you teach this class next time, Rudy. You got it right now. Good job, everyone. I hope no one's sleeping behind your cameras off. So it happened. It's never happened to me while teaching these classes, but back in 2020 when I was meeting with my teenagers for practice during COVID, one of my athletes did fall asleep and he started snoring right into the class. So yeah, so I haven't heard snore since then, but it did happen about 6 years ago. Great. So you folks realize, so that's one of those movements that incorporates strength and balance. And that's one that as we get better, there's going to be less movement and there's probably going to be a little bit more range of motion going downwards too. Okay. So, all right. We have a few more and then we'll just incorporate some stretches to cool down. Okay. All right. So we did our tricep extensions, shoulder raises. We did some leg work right now. So this one, you could do standing as well, but just for obvious reasons, right now we're gonna be doing sitting down. So this is just, I think for my folks that were with me yesterday, we did these standing. So these are the good mornings, okay? So this is where we hold the dumbbell across your chest. You're sitting, I like sitting towards the front of the chair because I have that space to go through. If I'm sitting all the way back, it's gonna be nearly impossible to doing this movement. So I'm here, back is straight, and then I'm just gonna keep my back straight, lean forward, and come back. Okay, we don't wanna slouch around the shoulders, just here, lean forward, come back. Okay, let's do 6 to 8 of these. This is one where you're usually going to feel it on your lower back. If you're doing these standing, you'll feel this on your hamstrings, sometimes even your glutes as well. And I have one more. Very good. Dusty floor. All right. So sometimes folks ask me, what should I be eating? I know I asked yesterday for my last class, and I know a big priority of that class was to, a goal is to not just get stronger, but to also lose weight. I've been through that journey in the past. I could tell you that sometimes, not sometimes, but like 70% of the weight loss journey is through what you eat. Okay. So I know this isn't a nutrition class. I do have a little bit, again, going back, got my bachelor's in exercise physiology, master's in kinesiology, and minor in nutrition. So I know a little bit of stuff, worked at a physical therapy office. So that's how I'm also comfortable with some of these stretches for like rehab and getting healthier. But if a goal, for some reason, I'm not asking this for this class, but if you have a personal goal to lose weight, just keep in mind that you're gonna get about 70, maybe even 80% of that based on what you eat. Okay, so that's a way, I don't want to say way bigger, but it's an important factor when it comes to losing weight. These classes, these movements, I would say use these classes and these movements that we have here to improve your strength, to improve your balance, to get stronger, improve your cardio a little bit. But when it comes to losing weight, any type of weight loss, you should emphasize or prioritize your nutrition. So just keep that in mind. Because sometimes in the past, I used to do personal training. And what happened is some folks would hire me. We would meet once or twice a week, and then they would continue eating what they were eating, or they would even eat more because they were tired from my workouts. So then sometimes their weight stayed the same or went up a little bit more. But the weight loss really happens when you start adjusting what you eat. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And something to consider after these classes, I would recommend to eat something that has a little bit of protein in there. So let it be maybe a hard-boiled egg or two. Maybe you have like peanut butter has protein in there. It has fats too, but it has protein in there. But just look for those foods. You know, if you're not used to looking at the nutritional facts on the back of foods, maybe start looking into that. And then you can also see how many ingredients, you know, the item that you eat has too. So again, just keep that in mind. All right. So we did bicep curls. What else can we do? We're gonna go ahead and do cross. Oh, this one's called a Poliquin lateral raise. So this one's a little different. It's not your traditional lift. Okay, so it's about 3 lifts in once. So we're gonna start here. So again, this would be a hammer grip. This is a regular grip, hammer grip. So we're at hammer grip. We're gonna do a hammer curl, then raise the elbows, and then extend at the elbows. Okay, so I think when I first started doing this, I would call it the cheerleader lift. It feels like a cheerleader movement. So again, so you go curl, extend, up. So, or curl, up, extend. Okay, curl, up, extend. Last one, curl, up, extend. Very good. Bring that down. All right. Oof. We'll do 2 more things and then I'll leave it open for any questions for you folks, okay? All right. Next one, this one, for sure I'm gonna be limited right now because this one does activate your calves and your Achilles. So what you wanna do is place your dumbbells or whatever heavier object you have right above your knees, okay? If you have that object closer to your hips or your thighs, it's not gonna do much for your calves. So what you wanna do is place them here and you're gonna raise your heels off the ground as high as you can and then back down. So I'm not doing my right leg right now, but you could see essentially we're here. Okay, so this is for your calf muscles. So let's do about 15 of those. And this one is about a second up, a second down. Nothing too aggressive. But the muscle that I injured, its exact function is to do this movement. So when your toes kind of push up and down. So I'll probably, hopefully next week I could do these. Very good. All right. Let me see. I don't know if you folks could see my feet, but this is one that I like to strengthen your feet and your arches, okay? So I know I mentioned if you're barefoot, you might not have a sock around, but if you have, this could be another item that I may ask for. It could be a small rag. It could even be a napkin if you have a paper towel or a napkin. So pretty much what I want you to do is this sock, I'm using my sock as an example. It's on the floor. What I want to do is kind of grip it with my toes, get a good enough grip where I could lift it and drop it. And then I kind of want to readjust it and fix the sock or the napkin, whatever item you have. And then again, regrip, drop, fix. And this is a workout movement for your arches and your toes. Okay. So I know most people aren't thinking about getting their toes stronger or their arches stronger. But this is, if you think about it, when it comes to balance, that's going to be one of your main things supporting you. So really try to grip as hard as you can and drop. You want to fix that object, grip, drop, fix that object. Let's do 2 more. And if you're able to, do it on the other foot as well. Do 5 of those for me. Keep doing those. These are, this one specific, that was a movement that we had our patients at a physical therapy office do when it came to some type of like lower leg or foot rehab. That was always part of the prescribed program. So do 5 on each leg. All righty. All right, I'm gonna come a little bit closer to you folks as we conclude the class. And again, sorry for just not getting 100% today, but yeah, hopefully everyone had a good experience. So I know we spent about 15 to 20 minutes just chatting about class stuff and Canvas and expectations and what to do. But you know, besides that, we'll be using those 20 minutes for more balance work, for more exercises. So, you know, if you feel like, oh, we didn't do much today, we probably did, like I mentioned yesterday in that class, we probably did like 30% of what a typical class would be. Our classes will usually go up until about 9:45. I'll try to give you folks a couple of minutes. Maybe we'll start the actual session around 9:02, 9:03. If you get here on time, then I can answer any questions. And then I'll also spend the last 5 minutes of the class answering any questions that we may have. But do we have any questions at the moment? Now would be a perfect time to ask. And I'm sure if you have a question, your classmates may have the same question. Hi, Carmen.
No questions.
No questions, Carmen.
No questions.
All right, that's one of my MVPs. She's been with me now at 2 colleges and for about 4 years. So again, appreciate everyone that's here. You folks keep these classes alive. Without you, they cancel these classes. So it's not something that instructors just preach. It's a reality. And I was told last Friday that this class was about to get canceled if we didn't get a few more folks. And yeah, we were at 14 and we got to that magic 16 number, and then now we're at 22. So I think, so we got a rise, and I think it helps that we had some folks come from our other classes to these. So again, I have 3 other classes if you wish to enroll, but don't feel obligated. But yeah, any questions before we head out?
No.
I have a question. I have problems standing on one foot.
Me too.
I cannot stand by one foot. Just
Yeah.
to be both.
Yeah, if so, that could be from like a previous injury. That could be from something in the past. If it's something that, well, I've never hurt that foot, it's just weaker, then yeah, we probably just have to get it stronger. And I usually feel like balance is one of those things that kind of shows up and like let me go ahead. I think Rosemary, with your mic's on. Sorry. Thank you. Balance is one of those things that we don't really, I know me personally, I don't really think about like, oh, like I can't hang out today because I have to go work on my balance, you know, like it's like second nature. So if it's one of those things that we don't really think about, but you know, it needs work, then obviously we got to work on that. So yeah, just, it could be one of those things that you might want to enroll to the other class. Or maybe even when we do this class and I post the recordings, you might want to do the recording, you know, a couple of days later. And that's what I've done. I know Carmen's aware, but where I work at Santa Ana with them, if they're not here, I just see them on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then I don't see them for the next 4 days. So some of them might be like, well, what do I do on the days off? And I'm like, well, you could watch the recordings, or I have a YouTube channel and there's over 500 videos on there now. So you could subscribe to that and do some of those videos. But yeah, I don't know. Does it, Sandra? I'm not sure if you had a previous injury, but that could be a factor too.
No, I don't have injury, but I cannot stand on my foot. Maybe I have to practice more often at home.
Yeah. So yeah, we just have to work on it. Yeah. So
yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
All right, Rose.
Thank you. See you tomorrow on Monday.
Yes, Monday.
See you
Rosemary,
Monday.
you have a question? I see your hand up, Rosemary.
Yes, I don't know why I'm getting the echo.
I think it's because you have two I see two screens.
Uh,
I see the Rosemary Melissa and the Rosemary.
Let's see. I'll try that. Is that better?
No, I think you have to log off from the other account or the other.
Okay. Well, I put it in the chat,
Okay.
but I could lift with one leg but not the other on the toes.
Oh,
What does
was
that mean?
previous injury or?
No, I mean like trying to do the sock.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick it up with the left.
Yeah, so I noticed with that one, it's just a dominant like side, especially with the lift. So again, we're not used to like being so intentional with our feet. So I think that's one that just requires a little bit more like neural component into it. So you just have to be a little bit more engaged. And it's not just like, oh well, I guess I'm not engaging enough. Sometimes it's just a matter of practice. You just have to continue with that. Um, sorry. So that's one thing. And then in my stretching class, I'm not sure. No, I don't think you're in my stretching class, but in my stretching class, we also have a stretch for
On
a half
Tuesdays?
hour. Yeah.
I just joined. I just
Okay.
registered yesterday.
So there's a movement in there too that I have folks stretch or bend their fingers through their midline, each finger individually, and do it also by bending each knuckle individually towards the midline. And that's also one of those movements that just requires a little bit more like connectivity in there. So it's just stuff that we have to practice over time, and it does get easier. But yeah, but the foot stuff doesn't. I wouldn't be concerned that maybe, oh, well, I guess I have an issue there. It's just practice because it's such an unusual new movement that we're trying to practice. And I mean, if you think about it, if you're gonna have to grab something from the floor with your toes, you probably go with your more dominant side to pick it up and not like your less dominant.
Right.
It's one of those things. Yeah. So yeah, nothing to worry about. It'll get better.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.
So I'll see you Tuesday. I'm in the Tuesday class. So
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.
All
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, ready? I think you're gonna be my next MVP over here.
It will get better, huh?
Thank you. Yeah. Doctor said try to avoid ibuprofen. He was like, you need that swelling right now to heal. He's like,
Really?
trying to
That's
rush you back. So he's like, unless like it's some excruciating pain, then take ibuprofen. But he's like, that's gonna reduce the swelling, which is gonna reduce the healing too. So
wow.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, and they're specializing more on like physical sport injuries or
Right.
impact injuries. So and yeah, and that's what we were taught in during getting the degree. It's like, ibuprofen is for muscular like swelling, like aches and pains. Tylenol, I know sometimes people use Tylenol and ibuprofen like it's the same thing. And Tylenol is more like neuromuscular, like a headache or a migraine. It's and then sometimes people use ibuprofen for that, which
Yeah.
isn't going to do anything. And
Yeah,
then
I use ibuprofen for everything, thinking
yeah,
it's the same.
so be careful, yeah. And then sometimes folks too, and this is something that I learned recently with more of with nutrition is when you get your antibiotics, obviously there's bacteria and stuff we want to clear out, but sometimes we have, you get better and your prescription is still there. It's like, oh, well, I only needed to take 20 of these instead of the 40. And then you get something similar. Maybe you had some like severe virus, like fever, flu,
Right.
and like 2 months later you get a regular cold. Like, well, I'm just gonna take my antibiotics
Yeah.
and then it's not the same thing. And
No.
antibiotics also kills all of the good bacteria in your gut for like
Right.
your gut health. And I read that it takes close to about 8 to 9 months for that bacteria to kind of grow back to what it was. And I'm like, dang, that really sucks. Like, imagine like you've trained your stomach to like be super healthy and efficient, And yeah, and you
Then
just
you kill everything.
you're not really thinking or not knowledge of what the antibiotics do, but yeah, but it kills everything, and then now
Yeah.
you're back to square one, and you might deal with some gut issues
Well,
too.
you got to pay attention to the doctor when they say take all of the pills. You
Yeah,
got to take all of them.
yeah, take
But
all of
again,
them.
people start feeling better and they say, "Oh, I don't have to take anymore."
Yeah, like
That's not true.
that would be me. Yeah, like well, I feel good now, so this saves me my next fever. I have my
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's just people that are not aware or naive about it. But yeah, so it definitely does help to like know what the consequences could be. So yeah, I'm trying to be tough and not use ibuprofen at the moment and just kind of limp my way around. But let's see. They said the first 2 to 3 days are the worst. So
Toughest.
yeah.
Well, what do they tell you? 6 to 8 weeks? It's always 6 to 8 weeks.
He said it wasn't a rupture. So he said for that it would have been 2 to 3 months at least of like no activity
Yeah.
or anything. Um, and then so he said if everything goes right, maybe like later next week I could start cycling. Just but make sure I'm wearing like the loops around the foot because
Oh yeah.
need
Yeah.
to push down so much. So if I'm able to do that, I could maybe be running again in like it could be gently, maybe in like 10 days, 11 days. But
Ugh.
he's like, go for a minute or go for a mile. But if in that first 30 seconds you feel something, hey, you
Yeah.
gotta give it
Just
another.
shut it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a race unfortunately here next month scheduled. And my friend, fortunately, he's also the race director. But yeah, I just messaged him. I was like, hey, like, what happens if I can't race it? And he's like, oh, don't worry, like I'll just roll it over to next year, which because it was a $200 race.
Whoa.
So I'm like, all right, well, at least I don't
But they're
have
not giving
to.
your money back.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, no, it's beautiful out here. I want to do it. But yeah, but it's just one of those things. Most places won't give your money back even for an injury. But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to make the best out of it. When I was running consistently all the time back in the younger days, I was getting injured every 2 or 3 months, anyways, from
Yeah.
being too excessive. And now that I've backed my training up a little bit, this is my first injury in like 7 or 8 months, and like significant injury. I mean, sometimes I have my calves are tight or my arches are hurting, so I take 2 or 3 days off. But something like this was common every 2 or 3 months. So and I remember when I started, going out with my wife, I wasn't running very much, and I told her I was like, yeah, like it's I love running, but when I get injured, like I'm always upset or sad,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was like now I'm not even gonna let this like stress me too much. Like my body probably was screaming for a little bit of time off, so I think I'll be okay. It's just
Yeah. Sometimes you need rest. I mean, I used to play a lot of basketball
yeah,
but on the concrete courts.
oh yeah,
So my knees would just take a beating and then sprained ankles
yeah,
every month or so I'd have a sprained ankle because you
exactly,
land if you rebound, you land on someone's foot and there goes your ankle.
yeah,
But
you know,
yeah, so it was just always injuries, it was
yeah.
just but you
Yeah,
get to a certain age and you go, that's it. I just can't do it anymore.
yeah, and I want to keep doing it, but I also don't want to like just be here in the condo crying over this. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's gonna heal. It sucks, but it's
it
gonna
will.
heal, and I'll be okay. So, all right, Rudy. Well,
All
thank you.
right. See you, Julio.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. Take care, man.